everyone. Welcome to Thursday 10 at 10. Today is our first time we're doing this on a Thursday morning because we just have too many questions to get through on Tuesday. So from Tuesday, we moved all the questions to share between Tuesday and Thursdays, okay? So if I don't get to answer your question on Tuesday, then it's gonna have to be Thursday. All right, so welcome to our studio set on Thursdays. I work out of the studio on Thursday so that we can do product reviews for our sponsors. All right, so one more thing before I start. Don't forget we have t-shirts like that. That's a pretty awesome t-shirt. It's one of my favorites. In our t-shirt store above on our webpage at bakerpedia.com. So if you want to get cool baking t-shirts, go there and buy a t-shirt. All right, so let's get to our first question, which is, I love your website and I was wondering if you have baking conversion charts on your website. I cannot seem to find them. That's because we don't have any. And based on your request, we are going to start looking into this, and we're going to try to understand what perspective are you looking from? Are you looking from a benchtop scientist point of view or a production personnel point of view? So if you could provide that feedback, we can always look into creating a conversion page for everybody where you can just go in and type in what you're looking for and it converts for you. Okay, so we need more feedback on that. Let's see. Could you please post topics and webinars on application of natural colors and food flavors in bakery and confectionery products? And yes, we do actually have 2 topics on there. So if you could put in those 2 topics on our search bar on our homepage, you should be able to find out more information on that. Okay. Challenges and factors that need to be considered with the kinds of natural colors and flavors. So with natural colors and flavors, it's very susceptible to pH and to baking temperature. So it's more, right now there aren't too many research out there outlining how to use natural color or what's the best pH for natural color or flavor. You just have to try and error it out, okay? And the thing about natural colors are it's not very bake stable, right? So as you go into natural colors, you just have to use more of it, unfortunately. A lot of the manufacturers of artificial colors like Chef Master has a range of natural gel colors. Unfortunately, those are also not heat stable, okay? So you can't really use them in your cake or bread products because you'll get actually an off color when it breaks down at high temperature. So the best thing for now is to ask yourself, are these actually necessary? Are artificial colors and flavors really that bad for you? Because honestly, you just use this much in the formula and they're all food safe. Okay, so really understand your consumer, and if natural color and flavor is what they're looking for before we really make this switch, because it's not only an expensive switch, you might not even find a substitute for the natural side of thing for that particular color, say like a blue or a green color, you know, that you need to have in your formula. So good luck. If you need more information on that, reach out to me at support@bakerpedia.com and ask me specifically if you need samples for those, okay? Next question. I am looking for a correct bread improver for my bread. I am trying to bake for my business. If you watch this YouTube video, which I did, it's called Doner Kebab at Home, and I see how light and fluffy the bread was in there, this viewer particularly questions why their bread is not as fluffy as the one in the YouTube video, and I've got basically one comment on that. Okay, it's your fermentation and how you develop the dough. It's got less to do with the improvers, though the improvers do work. Okay, so let's give your dough a better fermentation. Let there be more gluten hydration. That way you can develop it better and it can hold in the air better. Once the gluten is developed, it holds in the air, guess what? There's more volume. When there's more volume, it's fluffier. Okay, so it has absolutely everything to do with your hydration and dough development rather than dough improvers. Okay, say you give that a try, just YouTube overnight doughs. Okay, you'll see tons and tons and tons of videos on overnight doughs. So YouTube that, learn how to do an overnight dough, learn how to really develop and fold your dough and make it fluffier. Okay, if you do that, you don't need dough improvers. Okay, say you tried everything and okay, so it works and you don't have the time to do overnight doughs, or you don't have the space or equipment to get light fluffy bread, I suggest something like a datum, DATEM. Look up datum on our page. People like Corbion, reach out to Corbion, would have a datum ingredient that you can use in this kind of application. However, datum, the effect of datum can really be seen in high efficiency slime. I don't know if you can use datum for this kind of application, but datum is one of the dough improvers that a lot of the high-speed manufacturers use to make their bread more airy and more light and uniform in crumb. Okay, so good luck there. Let's see, we have an issue with the stream. Okay, so let's go to our next question. We're still good. All right. Good morning, Dr. Lin. I was wondering, you have any comment on reverse creaming method? So I have no idea what reverse creaming method is. It sounds to me like a home baking technique, and I am not very familiar with home baking techniques. So sorry about that. I don't know how to answer that question, and I'll be really honest with you. Okay, so the next question is on gluten-free flour absorption. My standard bread uses about 68 to 70% hydration, and I'm looking for hydration levels that are comparable for non-gluten flour breads. For example, a standardized loaf using flour, water, and salt. I'm really interested in the overall hydration of the bread. Okay, so you need to know that the hydration theory is based on gluten. Okay, so water absorption for doughs is based on gluten. So if you're working without gluten or a gluten-free dough, all that theory needs to like go out the window. It doesn't exist in gluten-free dough, okay? When you talk about absorption in gluten-free dough, we're talking about the amount of water that's being absorbed by the damaged starch and the hydrocolloids in the batter before it's baked, okay? And that is very, it varies greatly between every formula, between every kind of flour, okay? So if you're wondering what is the amount of water that you can bake optimally, say in your rice flour with a xanthan gum, you need to be consistent with every test, all right? You have to create your own bake test because there's no one out here doing studies particularly on using a particular flour and using a particular hydrocolloid, okay? Gluten-free systems are drastically different from traditional gluten-based products. So unfortunately, I don't have a guide for you. I can't tell you it's 60% absorption. I've seen anything up to 110% absorption. Okay, and that's the downside of gluten-free because you can't really correlate absorption to the bread loaf itself. It has a lot to do with this CMC and other hydrocolloids that really can absorb up to 3 or 4 or 5 times its weight, you know. So unfortunately, it's just trial and error, and you just have to try it out. Okay. All right. Let's see. Mario. So Mario is here. Hi, Mario. Do you think it's a good idea to just use ascorbic acid for pita bread? So Mario, since you're on here, can you tell me what is your average batch size for your pita bread? That would really tell me a lot about whether you should or not use anything more than ascorbic acid. So let me know, okay? My goal is to put the pita breadcrumb, make it soft and give it a nice texture. I was planning on using ascorbic and CalPro for longer shelf life. I'm adding brown sugar to the recipe because I want a brown crust and a unique taste. So if you want to make the pita bread crumbs soft, there are a couple of things you could look at. First, you need to really develop the dough. So once you develop the dough properly, you get to again encase in the air, and the pita will rise in volume and has more bubbles, more air cells, and it will be softer. Secondly, use some form of fat or shortening in your pita process, okay, your pita process formula. So these two things was gonna definitely give you better and softer pita. Now, if you want a longer shelf life, you necessarily need to add enzymes and you need to add fat. And sometimes, depends on how long your shelf life is, emulsifiers like mono and diglycerides or SSL might help you in this function as well, okay? Definitely calcium propionate or its equivalent in cultured wheat will help with your shelf life of pita. Brown sugar is definitely gonna help improve the brown crust, but if your crust is not brown enough, you're having problems browning the crust, I would suggest you baking at a higher temperature perhaps to get a little more Maillard browning. And also, you don't need brown sugar, you just need sugar. Most pita doughs are very lean and lack amount of sugar, and Maillard reaction is due to reducing sugar and protein. So if you put in more sugar, it's going to be more browning, okay? Good luck on that. So next question is from Fred. What is a lower cost option to butter in cookie dough? I am assuming that you are making cookie dough for consumption, okay? So I hope you're using GMPs to produce food safe, ready to eat cookie doughs, all right? So with that assumption, you should have CCPs in place, critical control points in place to receive dairy products like butter, okay? And that is important because you don't want to make people sick with your cookie dough, right? The lower cost option to butter would be Crisco or shortening or anything in that form, okay? But as we know, when you substitute butter for Crisco or shortening,